pase, pierna derecha, directo al arco, ¡golazo! ¡Golazo!
The world of football with a soccer perspective. This is Soccer Today with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramee, live on the Sports Podcasting Network.
Good day, good night. Welcome to Soccer Today for Friday, April 6th, 2018. I am solo today. We wish Duane a speedy recovery. Duane is trying to recover from a very, very difficult bout with bronchitis. Now, this weekend, week number 6 starting in Major League Soccer. Yes, it's going by really quickly when you just think that just a few weeks ago was the beginning of the season, early in March. Now already 1/5 of the season through, kind of. It's going pretty fast. It all starts tonight. Montreal traveling to New England for the first game of the weekend. New England trying to keep their undefeated streak at home going. Montreal trying to continue their winning streak going. Montreal on 2 victories in a row, one at home against Toronto and one on the road against Seattle last week. And we will see tonight Montreal traveling to Foxborough to play against New England. But before we take a look at all the games going on this week in Major League Soccer, there's a few bit of news coming out today. Some of them is related to Major League Soccer. Some of them is the world of football with a soccer perspective. And I want to address one situation that happened in Bologna yesterday. It happened with former Montreal Impact player Blair Zamali, former designated player for Montreal that was supposed to stay for a few years, stayed for one, wanted to go back to Europe to make sure that he's there for his kids, involved in his life of his kids, and of course, he did not necessarily appreciate his time in Major League Soccer. We all know that. We all seen it. We all seen how he handled the few non-called by referees and push and physicalness. We all see and remember. But yesterday, Blair Zamali is coming out of training. He's rolling his window down of his car, trying to sign a few autograph, and there was a lot of ultras, Bologna ultras there, and they were trying to get autograph too. And then the conversations shifted from being nice and go-lucky to be confrontational and aggressive. Blair Zamali asked him to stop. They didn't. They tried to punch Zamali. Zamali was able to roll the window in time and not get punched in the face, and was able. The police were called, but by the time the police got to the Bologna training facility, the culprit were already gone. But yeah, Blair Zamali was close to getting punched in the face yesterday after training with Bologna. So that's interesting. We all know what Conor McGregor did yesterday. If you are a mixed martial art fan, there's something in the air right now, I think. Maybe in Bologna too. We'll take a look at that in the near future. But yeah, sure, you might not like how the player responds to you. You want to get 10 things signed. You want to put them on eBay. Do people still use eBay? You want to put them on somewhere, on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, with your signature and, oh yeah. But then the player says no, it's no. And you can't punch people in the face. Anyways, that's what happened. Another rumor that happened yesterday. And that one's a stretch. I'm saying it too because I know for some of you, this weekend is important for more than just Major League Soccer. Like there's something Sunday night and some of you like it. I'm not necessarily in a place where I don't really care anymore. But WrestleMania this Sunday. And Zlatan might be there. Why? What you saying? Yeah, exactly. The thing is that there's bookies, right? WrestleMania is kind of like the Super Bowl of the wrestling world. So you do have prop bets on websites. And some of those bookies put bets on potential surprise stars, celebrity stars, coming to WrestleMania, making an apparition. And Zlatan's odds has been slashed last night by the bookies. So maybe according to bookies, Zlatan will make his WWF debut this weekend. Now that could be interesting. Maybe not. Who knows? What's Zlatan going to do? A bicycle head kick? A Pele kick? Why not? Call it a Zlatan kick? Sure. Another news that came out yesterday as well were about a month and a half. It's going to be in June, where countries of CONCACAF and around the world decides where the 2026 World Cup will be held. And there's a few FAs, football associations, that are declaring their support for either Morocco or the United 2026 bid, which, again, if you don't know, involves Canada, United States, and Mexico to be the host of the 2026 World Cup. You would have 10 games in Canada, 10 games in Mexico, and 60 games in the United States. So far, there's one country who endorsed the United 2026 bid, and that's Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia becomes the first FA to publicly endorse United 2026, saying, yep, we're going to vote for them. Now, on the other side of that, you have countries like Dominica and St. Lucia in the CONCACAF region, in the Caribbeans, saying, and that's the government of those countries, saying this, not the FA, not the Football Association of those countries, of Dominica and St. Lucia. It is the governments themselves that mentioned, oh, we want to support Morocco. Yeah, that's all well and good. There's political aspect why they're saying this, but it's not necessarily official. It's not the FA, it's not their football association that mentioned that they will support Morocco. And it was said later on, look, FA could still vote for United 2026, even though the government would like for them to vote for Morocco. So there's that aspect. We'll say Lucia and Dominica, two nation of CONCACAF, which technically you would assume they would vote for CONCACAF. Like, yeah, I want to have the World Cup in my neck of the woods. But no. Apparently Dominica and St. Lucia will use leverage and will try to get something out of it in exchange for their vote for 2026. And that could be fascinating. If countries from CONCACAF start not to vote for United 2026, with the amount of African country going to vote for Morocco, the amount of Asian country going to vote for Morocco, it's going to be decided by the amount of UEFA nations and South American nations, yes, but CONCACAF might have a swing vote in there. And if they start agreeing with Morocco, well, we might not have the World Cup at home, fellas. We might have to travel to North Africa for 2026. And that would be a shame, because that would mean Canada won't be in it as well. And that is a total shame. Canada, we want you to be in the 2026 World Cup. I want to see a World Cup with my country in it in my lifetime. And 2026 could be one of those opportunities. Speaking of Canada and being part of international tournaments, Qatar, China, and Japan has been touted as well to be part of the Copa America 2019, the same one where we mentioned Canada might be a part of as well. A very international Copa America for 2019, but you might see Canada being invited as well on top of US and Mexico and Qatar, China, and Japan. So for that Copa America, it'll be what? Centenario +2, +3, +4. But anyways, could be a good idea for Canada, good experience level for Canada, for them to get some great games, because now we know we're like in a slow part of the international scene for Canada right now. The World Cup's coming. We're not in the World Cup. We don't have a lot of friendlies scheduled. The next games for Canadian men's national team is the League of Nations. I'm not talking about the ancestry of the United Nations after the First World War. I'm talking about here the League of Nations and the CONCACAF. Talking about countries like Dominica and St. Lucia, which will be eventual opponents of Canada, and those are the next meaningful games for our country. If you're north of the 47th parallel, this year is the Nations League. So, Copa America next year could give a good experience. I want to see the crop of young players Canada has. Samuel Piet. I want to see Cal Aaron. I want to see those young guns play. Davies. Who knows? Baloo. I haven't given up hope. Come on, Baloo. Say no to elephants. say yes to maple syrup. Okay? But for it could be Bellew if he chooses to. But to have our young crop of players of the Canadian men's national team playing against the likes of Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Mexico, and company in a meaningful tournament, competitive tournament, I want to see that. I truly do. And I truly feel it is needed. So hopefully Canada can be in that Copa America 2019. Same for Qatar, China, and Japan. Before we take a small break and come back and break down the games of the weekend, I want to talk about the Sounders. The Sounders, Seattle. What's going on? What's going on in the Pacific Northwest? Apparently not a whole lot. Still the only team in Major League Soccer to not score a goal in 2018. Yeah, you heard that right. They haven't scored a goal in Major League Soccer yet. Will it start this weekend? Maybe. Maybe not. And speaking of this weekend, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the schedules and we'll take a look at the standings.
You are listening to Soccer Today. Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTodaySPN and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network. You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Kevin Laramee here. You can follow me on social media at Kev Laramee. And later today, we will have our first official Two Solitudes Soccer podcast for patrons only being put online for patrons only. You can become a patron on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Sports Podcasting Network. Later on today, the first show is dropping. Unfortunately, due to Duane's illness, only Keaton and I were able to record yesterday. So we did a little bit of an intro to the Two Solitude Soccer podcast, and that will be dropping later today for patrons only. Once again, $2 a month. $1 is solitude. So that's 2 because there's 2 solitudes. $2 a month gives you access to the Two Solitude Soccer podcast, where once a week, usually with Duane, Keaton, and I, we will be taking time to talk about Canadian soccer. Canadian Premier League is the first focus of this show, and Canadian soccer as a whole. National team, whatever's going down below that pyramid or higher than that pyramid, we will be talking about it on the Two Solitude Soccer podcast. And we want to know as well your thoughts. What do you think about the Canadian Premier League, about the potential team maybe in your city? You live in a city, you want a Canadian Premier League? Let us know. twosolitudespodcast@gmail.com is the email to email us about the Canadian Premier League and anything surrounding Canadian soccer. Now it is time to take a look at the schedule for week number 6. All right, now game day number 6, Montreal Impact tonight versus the New England Revolution at 7:30 at Foxborough. Montreal have an opportunity for me to continue a surprising beginning of the season, and maybe my conspiracy theory will be proven after this game. Remember Lee Wen? Remember how he's trying to be traded? He asked for a trade. He's not happy, not training, not practicing. He's training, yeah, but he's not playing. What if, because we all heard that Montreal was one of the team involved as well with Lee Wen. What if it was all because of the wait? They wanted to wait after this game. I'm like, okay, let's wait till we play each other on the Friday in week 6. And how about we do the trade after? Sure. Maybe it's going to happen. Maybe early Monday morning, Lee Wen will be traded to Montreal. I wouldn't be shocked at all. And MLS will MLS. I would not be surprised if an agreement in principles were made between Adam Braz and the Revolution, saying, okay, after the games we play against each other. I know we're still going to play against each other twice the rest of the season, but we can skip one. How about we wait till after this one and get the trade done? Couldn't it not happen? Yeah, absolutely. Could Lee Wen be in the purgatory with Revolution for the entire season? Yeah, they don't really care. That's not how they do stuff in Revolution. It doesn't bother them. Yeah, the value of their player, they're going down. They're not going to get as much when they trade him, but they're right in their mind. And I guess that's all that matters. Atlanta United, LAFC. No afternoon games on Saturday. First game is at 5 p.m. Tomorrow night, Atlanta, LAFC in Atlanta. Will be interesting to see LAFC play for the first game ever in Atlanta in that big stadium. And the interesting fact about LAFC is yesterday, LAFC unveiled their brand new training facility, multi-million-dollar training facility, and it marked the second time in as many days that the club got to enjoy their new permanent training facility at Cal State University, LA, marking an end to their time across town at UCLA, where the club has been raised since preseason began in January. And these are the words of Coach Bob Bradley coming up. Whenever an organization does things the right way, from the top facilities, the stadium, the surface that you play on every day, again, it connects with how you play football. Coach Bob Bradley told reporters, standing on a new hybrid Bermuda grass pitch which appeared so well manicured, visitor figures it was artificial. That's one of those things too, the new hybrid grass pitches that you see that are 90-something% grass and just a few blades plastic or a few blades artificial, but there to support the rest of it. It's really important. And it's like a $30 million facility, 30,000 square foot facility, where the field is perfect, where inside the building players can interact. It is truly now a necessity if you are a Major League Soccer club with aspirations of having big-name DPs, big academy players signing for your academy when they're 15, 16 and becoming homegrowns and having a pro contract and becoming great players young in Major League Soccer. Yeah, you need those training facilities. We've seen Atlanta open, though. We've seen Montreal, Toronto. We've seen more than half the team with multi-million-dollar training facility that are up there with the levels of Cobham for Chelsea, of other places in Europe and England and everywhere. Those $30, $25 million facilities that were built in North America over the last few years are really making a difference in the academy side. And we're seeing more and more great academy products breaking through the league, breaking through lineups. And the launch of facilities like LA just did is one of the big reasons why you have a rise in the academy culture in my mind, and as well a rise in designated player and especially TAM players accepting to come over here with the infrastructures surrounding them. The other game Saturday after Atlanta, LA, you got the Union versus the Earthquakes. Philly versus San Jose. Philly is not having necessarily a consistent beginning of the season. Loss, win, and a draw. Another loss for Philly. When you're looking at San Jose, a win, a loss. It's one or the other this time in Philly. It's not an easy trip for San Jose, and this game's quite early, so we'll see what happens for the Quakes, but I'm kind of expecting the Union to bounce back on this one. FC Dallas, Colorado Rapids at FC Dallas. Will FC Dallas continue on their, not calling it a comeback yet, don't call it a comeback, wait a little bit, but Dallas is playing a lot better now than they were late last year in how they played early on in this season. The Chicago Fire versus the Columbus Crew. Can the Crew come back? Can the Crew win at Chicago? Chicago is winless in 2018 yet. Still no win. But Chicago did play better. I don't want to say they played well because they didn't. And the goals kind of like skewed the game against Portland last weekend. Even though Schweinsteiger got 2 assists. Still feel it was a Portland that lost 2 points and not Chicago that gained 1. Still, Columbus is a tough team too. A way more difficult team to beat than Portland. Chicago is going to have their hands full. And the Crew, having had their first loss this season, I feel the Crew will try to bounce back. Now, moving on to 9:30 Eastern Time. This time in the mountains, Real Salt Lake versus Vancouver Whitecaps. The Whitecaps won another road win against a struggling Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake, it's just another year, another tough beginning of the season. Go back to last year, after 3 games, they canned Jeff Cassar, and Mike Petke is named the head coach of Real Salt Lake. And they had a very good season. In a way, there are a lot of growth and constant betterment of the team, the chemistry of the growth of young players, and still the Beckerman taking. Yeah, things are different this year. Real Salt Lake, it's not just how, especially it's not just the result, but it's how those results are achieved. In Vancouver, 3-1-1, one of the best teams in the Western Conference so far. And now Kai Kamara started scoring. Will be interesting to see if Vancouver can perform once again on the road. Altitude won't be a problem. Real Salt Lake, it's not too far of a travel too. Vancouver are the favorites for me in that game. Now, Orlando, Portland. We're moving on to Sunday. There's 2 games on Sunday night. Orlando, Portland, in Orlando. I don't know what to expect here. Dwyer has been playing a bit better, and yeah, sometimes it's a bit physical, and he did push the goalie, but the goal was good. But Timbers want to win as well. Timbers hasn't won in 2018 yet. 3 losses, 2 defeats. Yes, last week they should have won against Chicago. They had a 2-0. They were 2-0 up in the game, and they still let that 2-goal lead go with Nico Schweinsteiger, and it ended up to be 2-2 at the end. Now traveling to Orlando. It's far. It's a lot of travel. And Orlando, with Dwyer scoring earlier last week, yeah, Orlando's hungry. They want to add the first win last week. They want to put 2 in a row. But Timbers just won their first win. That one's going to be interesting. And Sunday, April 8th, LA Galaxy and Sporting Kansas City. By the way, you remember when I was saying Zlatan and WrestleMania? It'll never happen. Will never happen. WrestleMania's in New Orleans. The Galaxy are playing at home against Kansas City, one of the best teams in the Western Conference. So, Zlatan's playing. Duh. Zlatan's not going to be at WrestleMania. And Zlatan's not going to take the plane after to go because it's going to be too late anyway. So, the bookies that gave Zlatan some odds to be at WrestleMania, they just want your money because it's never going to happen. But can Zlatan perform like he did last week? 2 touch of ball, 2 goals. Kansas City is not LAFC, but Kansas City has been having trouble defending this year too. Can Kansas City hold Zlatan to nothing? Yeah, that'll be difficult. But still kind of excited to see if it's going to happen. Who knows? Zlatan could maybe score another goal or not. But it will be more difficult, in my mind, for the Galaxy to pull off that type of game against Kansas City. Because Kansas City, yeah, they're not as good defensively as we would have expected, but offensively they are. And they're one of the best teams in the Western Conference. They're way better than the LFC, that's for sure. Now, let's take a look at the standings in Major League Soccer. As you can see on the television to my left, New York City FC first in the Eastern Conference, followed by Columbus Crew, Atlanta United, New England Revolution, New York Red Bulls, and the Montreal Impact. And then, just outside the playoffs, you do have Philly. Let me get a second here. And just outside the playoffs, you do have Philly. All right, here we go. Philly, Orlando, Toronto, DC United at 10th, and Chicago Fire at 11 to finish the Eastern Conference standings. And now in the West, like we were talking about, Kansas City is first. Vancouver Whitecaps are second. Tied on points is because of the goal differential. LA Galaxy, 7 points, are third. LAFC are fourth with 6 points. Minnesota with 6 points as well. They're in fifth for goal differential. And FC Dallas finishing off the playoff spots in the Western Conference with 6th position and 5 points. Now, the Rapids, Dynamo, and Real Salt Lake all at 4 points. The Quakes at 3 in 10th position. The Timbers, 2 points in 11th position. And the Wooden Spoon so far in Major League Soccer, the worst team in the league so far, Seattle Sounders. Haven't even scored a goal. They had allowed 5. They're -5. They're 0-2-0. They're 0-1-0. Not going well in Seattle. It's terrible. Worst team in the league. What's going on, Portland and Seattle? You're supposed to be 2 teams in the... Yeah, it's still very early in the regular season. And you are correct. It is very early in the regular season. But those are the standings as we speak before we head to week number 6. One thing that's going on this weekend, too, is the MLS Cup. You like FIFA 18? Now there's a esports component to Major League Soccer. Every club in Major League Soccer has one representative, and it's starting today. Some matches, and there'll be playoffs this weekend, and you can watch it on Twitch. You can find it on Major League Soccer's Twitch channel, and you can probably find it on MLSsoccer.com as well if you are inclined to watch. What is your thoughts on esports, on FIFA 18, on eMLS? Let us know. sportspodcasting@gmail.com, or on the social media @KevLaramee. I want to know if you are invested in this. Are you going to watch your representative of your favorite Major League Soccer club play video games with your team's jersey on? Is that something that interests you? Is it something that gets you going? I love to play FIFA. I'll get my butt probably destroyed by one of those players for sure. By the way, if any of you guys are listeners, I kind of want to play against you guys. So, @KevLaramee on PS4. Add me. And let's play some FIFA. That'll be interesting. But is eMLS interesting you? Are you going to watch, to pay attention? Are you going to look for the results? Or is it something that's just going to happen and on Monday morning it's over, nobody talks about it? I want to know your thoughts on the MLS Cup, eMLS Cup. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter @KevLaramee. Hopefully, Duane will be back soon. We're wishing Duane a speedy recovery. If you want to wish Duane a speedy recovery as well, you can do so on Twitter @24th Minute. And myself @KevLaramee. The show is located at Soccer Today SPN. Enjoy the games this weekend. Enjoy the Premier League. Damn you, Tottenham. I hate you. What the hell are you doing, Conte? Yeah, have you noticed I haven't talked about the Premier League today because I don't want to even look at it. I don't want to know that Chelsea's going to be outside of the Champions League. Yeah, Major League Soccer. We'll focus on that. And we'll be back Monday morning to talk about all that happened in Major League Soccer. And once again, for patrons only, later on today, the first 20 minutes of the first episode of the Two Side Dudes Soccer podcast will be posted for patrons only on our Patreon feed that you need to pay $2 a month to get. Put your money where your mouth is. You've asked for it. Now it's time to deliver. Put that $2 exactly right there at patreon.com. That's patreon.com/sports podcasting network. $2 a month gives you access to the Two Solid Dudes Soccer podcast, and you'll get all the Canadian Premier League coverage that you want. And with this, you can email us at twosoliddudespodcast@gmail.com if you have questions about the Canadian Premier League, if you have questions about anything Canadian soccer, twosoliddudespodcast@gmail.com. And as always, until Monday, for French listeners, there'll be a French show tonight, late tonight, after the New England-Montreal game. Going back to the studio, I'll record a post-game show. But until then, and as always, have a great soccer.
You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.